G'day, welcome back to the channel and bit of a rant. Yeah, I'm having a bit of a rant. It's been a few videos since I had a rant, so it's time to do that. Now, the first thing, I want to follow up on a video I did a couple of weeks ago almost, which was a challenge to Mr. Tim Robinson from the New Zealand Airline Pilots Association. I challenged Mr. Robinson to have a face-to-face, a head-to-head debate with me over some of the claims that he's been making in respect to the risk associated with drones and airliners and so forth. He hasn't fronted. He hasn't contacted me. Now, I've spoken to some people who are in a position to know, and they've told me that Mr. Robinson is well aware of my video and my challenge, and his response is that he is not going to talk to me. Well, I think that says it all. Mr. Robinson obviously doesn't want to be challenged on any of his ridiculous claims, so even though he would put himself in a position where he could gain the respect of a huge community of drone and model flyers, he's chosen not to. I think he subscribes to the school of thought where it is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to open one's mouth and remove all shred of doubt. So that's probably what he's doing. And someone said he hasn't got anything to gain by talking to you. Well, yeah, he does. He has the opportunity to gain the respect of quite a large number of people. But more importantly, he's got so much to lose because I would tear him apart and his credibility would be obviously destroyed within the communities where, due to his epaulets, he has some credibility. That's the great unwashed and the media. So there you go. Mr. Robinson lacks testicular fortitude. And I want to go a bit further on this because, you know, he makes out that all these drones are a huge danger to aircraft. You know, it's only a matter of time before someone's killed, and that drones are the big risk. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Robinson. You are dead wrong. Don't believe me? Who would you believe? I mean, I may not have the necessary credibility. I don't think Mr. Robinson has the necessary credibility to make really bold and outlandish statements. But what about Boeing? Do you think Boeing is a credible player in the aerospace game? I think they are. I think they've been around for a very long time. They make some of the world's most popular, most reliable, most successful aircraft. And they, interestingly enough, did a study called the MEDA study in which they analysed the cause of air crashes. And they discovered that 80% of all air crashes are caused by what's called human factors. Now, human factors, that means when someone stuffs up. And of those human factors, over 50% was actually pilot error. So the biggest risk you face when you go flying in an airliner is not a drone, it's that the pilot will stuff up and kill you. Pilots who are Mr. Robinson's members of his New Zealand Airline Pilots Association. So why are they pointing fingers at the drone community saying you're all unsafe, when in fact his members, or the group that he represents, has killed thousands of people over the years, not on purpose. No one's suggesting they've done it. Well, actually there's been a few, haven't there, where the pilot may have been committing suicide. But the biggest risk to airline passengers are airline pilots. They are the ones responsible for most crashes. So why pick at us? Is he trying to divert people's attention from the proven fact that pilots are a huge risk? I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. And what about this situation where every time a pilot sees a drone, airports are shut down, the media arrives in hordes of, vans and things and interview people, and Mr. Robinson says it's only a matter of time. And well, let's take a look. Now, I mentioned that pilots are the biggest risk. So I've gone to the Civil Aviation Authority in New Zealand here, and I've got their latest occurrence analysis report. There's incidents that are reported to the Civil Aviation. You might be interested to know that in the last year, there have been 49 air prox reports. That's air proximity. That's when planes have got too close, right? And it's a risk to people. And there have also been 625 breach of clearance reports. That's not quite so serious. I think that's when there's someone's where they shouldn't be. So it could be dangerous if someone else was where they shouldn't be. So it's obviously nearly 50 instances where people's lives were put at jeopardy because airplanes failed to maintain the adequate clearance. So this wasn't just a case of seeing a drone. This was when another manned aircraft threatened the aircraft that someone was in. Right. And so I've gone through, I've had a look, they've got a list on the website. I'll put a link to this document in the description of this video. You can go and download it yourself and you see I'm not making this stuff up. Okay. Now, there were some serious incidents, and here we go. These are pilot attributable serious incidents. First of all, and this is in the last year, Franz Josef helipads, avoiding action required to avoid collision due to a second helicopter lifting off without doing a clearing turn to all other pads behind. So 2 helicopters nearly crashed together, right? Ooh, no drones, but people could have died. Then Cascade Valley, A Hughes 500 was tracking up the right-hand side of the Cascade at 1,800 feet, making regular radio calls on 119.1. To look up and find a dark blue small cub plane directly ahead, estimated 70 metres away. Helicopter turned right immediately to avoid, unable to establish radio contact with the aircraft. So we have a helicopter flying along, doing all the right things, and a Piper Cub comes along and they almost collided, right? 70 metres. That's a hell of a lot closer than a lot of the drone sightings, where they're saying like 1,000 metres. I think the last one over Auckland, that was sighted 1,000 metres away. Excuse me, but this is, a lot closer and a hell of a lot more dangerous. Then we have Kerry. Glider was operating in the mandatory broadcast zone with no transponder and not making any radio calls, causing a near collision with a Q300 on approach. The Q300 crew advised that the aircraft came within 200 feet of each other and within a wingspan. I don't understand how that works. I guess Q300 has a 100-foot wingspan, does it? So within a wingspan, we've got a glider and an airliner within a wingspan of each other. And I didn't see that in the paper. I didn't see the media just falling all over that going, people could have died. It was only a matter of time before a glider hits an airliner. No, we see none of that, do we? How unusual is that? And Mr. Robinson wasn't out there saying, oh, we need to make sure that all glider pilots are grounded because they're a threat to aviation. No, we didn't see any of that. So let's move along. This is really good stuff. Okay, Whanganui. Avoiding action required against the Cessna 150 when both aircraft joining. Approximate distance between the aircraft was 60 metres at the same level, 60 metres away, two light aircraft 60 metres away, narrowly avoided a crash. Another one, again, not in the papers. Mr. Robinson didn't have anything to say about that, did he? Let's keep going while the going's good. Matamata. Aircraft turned base in front of a Katana, which was ahead in the circuit. The Katana crew took avoiding action by turning left and away from the C-172. Distance between the aircraft estimated to be approximately 1.5 wingspans. That's on a 172, that's like, that's very close. And let's consider the options now. If a drone hits a manned aircraft, not a lot happens. Now, remember that test that the Dayton University did where it showed that drone smashing into the wing of an M20 wing and making a big hole in it? Well, I think we've all agreed that was not a particularly representative test. So I went and had a look at the investigative report for the Canadian aircraft that allegedly hit a drone on approach. And here's some pictures. Here's a picture of the wing after a drone hit it. That doesn't look very damaged, does it? So I think the M20 incident, and I don't see the media reporting this, wing lightly scuffed by drone collision. No, they'd rather go with the sensationalist stuff. But imagine the difference between this and a Cessna 172 and another light aircraft colliding. It's a huge difference. Nobody got killed in this, but you get two manned aircraft colliding, people die all the time. They die all the time when there's mid-air collisions between manned aircraft. But Mr. Robinson isn't up in arms. He isn't all foaming at the mouth because there's all these massive number of near misses between manned aircraft. No, he's concerned when a pilot sees a drone 1,000 metres away, a tiny little drone. So, and where's the media? As I said, where is the media? Why aren't they jumping all over this stuff saying, our skies are not safe. People are nearly getting killed every week. Well, let's see, 50, yeah, every week. 50 approx in a year, that's one a week. One a week if we're having these near misses with potentially fatal outcomes, right? There's a whole lot of other stuff here. There's one which says attributability undetermined. That's a mouthful. At Wanaka, a student on solo took off on runway 29 when the circuit was operating for runway 11. Heli on approach had to take avoiding action as aircraft drifted off the centreline after takeoff. Radio calls had been made. So helicopter nearly collided with a light aircraft that was using the wrong runway. Again, people could have died. Kaikoura South, avoiding action required to miss a sluicing bucket from a helicopter in front that had come out of circuit in sequence. So pilot stuffs up and nearly hits another aircraft with the bucket that he's carrying. In Auckland City, a Cessna approached at the same level from 3 o'clock and passed in front of within 200 metres, took avoiding action, limited by banner towing. So we got someone's towing a banner and another plane nearly plows into them, or they nearly plow into another plane. Oh my goodness, if you can't, this is what makes me laugh. Now, these airline pilots are seeing these tiny drones at immense distances and at immense speeds, and they say, pilots can see this, but here's a pilot couldn't see a plane towing a banner and nearly hit it. What the hell is going on there? I don't know. There's no consistency. You can see why Mr. Robinson wouldn't want to talk to me, because I would blow him out of the water with all this stuff which is official from the Civil Aviation Authority themselves. Here's the evidence that it's not drones that pose the risk to people flying in the air. It's other aviators, it's other pilots that are the real risk if you're going up in the air in an aircraft. The very people that Mr. Robinson represents, in fact. So where is he now on the safety line? Nowhere to be seen. So that's my little rant for today. I think it's a justified one, don't you? And the same, I know in the UK, if you go and get the UK Airprox reports, it's the same all over the world. There are near collisions between manned aircraft every day, and unfortunately on some days there are actual collisions. And when manned aircraft collide in the air, it is inevitable that people die. We've had a very, very tiny number of drone versus aircraft collisions, and nobody's even got a scratch. So I think the aviation industry has to address the real problem. Stop trying to blame drone operators, drone flyers, because sometimes you see a drone. No, deal with the problems that are killing people every year. And that is the skills and the vetting of pilots, airline pilots, Mr. Robinson, and the other things that make it that for some reason pilots can't see other aircraft. Now they want to put mandatory transponders on drones. They want to give us what they call electronic conspicuity on drones and model aircraft. But for goodness sake, if a pilot can't see a light aircraft towing a banner, then I don't think some kind of beacon is going to make the slightest bit of difference on a drone. It's lunacy. It's ridiculous. It's outrageous. And I saw the other week that a plane crashed into a suburban area, 2 people killed. Why the hell are we letting these aircraft fly over built-up areas? Because every year people are killed when manned aircraft fall out of the sky into built-up areas and kill people. Drones have never done that. People say, oh, you shouldn't fly drones over people, it's too dangerous. But hang on a minute. What would you rather have falling on your head? A twin-engine Cessna, a helicopter with 2 people in it, or a Phantom 4? Really? I think I'd rather be hit by Phantom 4 than by any manned aircraft I know of. But it's legal to fly your manned aircraft over people. It's not legal to fly your drone over people. There you go. We live in a funny world, don't we? It's absolutely weird. I'd like you to chime in. Have your say in the comments. Tell us what you think about all this. Are you surprised to learn how many times people nearly collide in the air? And where do you think the media is? Why is the media just not covering this stuff? Surely it's sensational to say, near catastrophic collision between manned aircraft are narrowly averted. That'd make a good headline, wouldn't it? So why are they just ignoring this really dangerous stuff and focusing on pilot sees drone 1,000 meters away, airport closed? I don't know. Anyway, I've ranted on enough. That's it for another ranty, newsy video. And if you like it, thumbs up. If you don't like it, thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends. Thank you to my Patreon supporters who make it possible for me to bring you this information that you might not have known about. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.